Are you a poet? You probably like poetry. What do you think about poetry? About poetry. I know it's one of my favorite themes. I mean poems like Keats's "If by dull rhymes our English must be chained," a sonnet about rhyming, and Keats's own ideas about rhyming. I love poems like this because when I read them, I feel that's my team. He's talking about us. The poem I'm sharing with you today is a German poem by Schiller. It's called The Division of the Earth. That's my prose translation of the title. If you're interested in looking up the original German poem, I'll leave the German title of the poem in the description. I had a really strong emotional response reading this poem. That's why I selected it to share. So a word about the structure of this video. I'm going to give a little bit of context for Schiller, who was he, and also what I think about his poetry. I'll read a prose translation, my prose translation of The Division of the Earth. Then I'll tell you my thoughts about the poem. Then I'll give you a technical analysis of the poem, and at the very end, I'll read the poem in the original. So Friedrich Schiller, we're talking about. His dates are 1759 to 1805. He was a contemporary of Goethe, another very important German poet. They're both very significant figures in German culture, literary history, and together they are considered by many to be the height of German poetic art. A poem you might know that Schiller wrote would be, for example, Ode to Joy. That's the English title. Beethoven used it in his Ninth Symphony. And Schiller was also a dramatist, so he wrote many plays, and one play you might be familiar with, or at least the story, you might be familiar with the story. He wrote a play, William Tell. So to me, his poetry is technically exact, very rigorous, but it's gorgeous, well-rounded. The ideas are well developed and smooth and logical. It's just a great experience reading his poetry for me. Almost always coming away from reading his poetry, I get a sense that life is glorious, man is wonderful, the world is wonderful. It's very sunny, optimistic, and that comes across by his choice of subjects, of course, but also by what he has to say about those subjects. So I'm going to read now The Division of the Earth by Friedrich Schiller. Take the world, Zeus called from his heights to man. Take it, it's yours. I give it to you as inheritance and eternal fiefdom, but divide it among yourselves like brothers. There was a great hurry of setting up. Young and old were busily animated. The farmer grabbed the field's fruits. The squire stocked the forest. The merchant took that which his stores could manage. The abbot selected the noble wine. The king blocked the bridges and streets, saying, 1/10 belongs to me. But late, long after the division took place, the poet neared. He came from far away. There wasn't anything more to be seen. Everything had its lord. Woe is me! Should I, alone from everyone, be forgotten? I, your most loyal son? Thus he let his loud complaint ring out and threw himself before Jove's throne. If you dawdle in the land of dreams, replied the god, don't quarrel with me. Where were you when the world was divided? I was, said the poet, with you. My eye hung on your countenance, my ear on your heaven's harmony. Forgive that spirit who from your light was drunk and lost the earthly things. What to do, spoke Zeus. The world is already given away. The autumn, the hunt, the market is no longer mine. If you want to live with me in my heaven, come as often as you want. It'll be open to you. So that was The Division of the Earth by Schiller. Now I'd like to offer a few thoughts I have about the poem. I think this is a story about how something came to be the way it is. It's a story about the function of art. What art is supposed to do, what is it for? Notice in the poem there's a contrast between things of the physical realm, material values, such as wine, agriculture, forests. Maybe we could even say government. And on the other side, there's poetry. Maybe we could say art in general. But poetry isn't material value. Poetry is a spiritual value. It deals with one's inner life. That's its scope. What is it for? It's for contemplation. It's for thinking. And also the feelings that come from that thinking. And that's why the poet can't partake in the division of the earth. His product isn't earthly. His product is of the spirit. And that explains why Zeus offers the poet access to his realm. It's significant that Zeus is present in the poem. Zeus, as the highest god, is supposed to represent the best, the greatest. And it's not just anything of the spirit that Schiller would celebrate or would have his poet write about. Schiller wants the best ideas, the most beautiful ideas, the greatest possible that the mind can do and experience. And this whole idea of the origin of the function of art is wrapped up in this little fantasy tale. And I think that's really well done. I really like the characterization of Zeus. He seems like a down-to-earth kind of character. And funny when he says, why weren't you paying attention? I made this huge announcement. But I mean, he's fair in the end, right? He tries to solve the problem and he tries to do right by the poet. So now on to the technical analysis of the poem. These comments refer to the original German. So there are 8 stanzas. Each stanza has 4 lines. And there's a rhyme scheme of A-B per stanza. Every A line ends with a feminine foot, meaning there's an extra unaccented syllable, but every B line ends on a strong beat. And all that's true for every stanza, but the last stanza is different in terms of number of beats. So the first 7 stanzas had the pattern 5, 5, 5, 4 in terms of number of beats. And the last stanza is completely 5, so 5, 5, 5, 5, so completely pentameter, where in the other stanzas we had a mixture of pentameter and tetrameter, the last line being tetrameter. We could ask why this is this way. It can happen. Why not? Is a structural possibility. Was it an oversight? I don't know. It could be that because it's the last stanza, a full pentameter gives a feeling of fulfillment, so the story ends at that moment. In the presence of pentameter, tetrameter might give the sense, create the effect of being somehow incomplete, and maybe that was the consideration. Maybe, I don't know. So now I'm going to read the poem in the original German. I know that my audience probably is English speaking and reading German doesn't make that much sense. But because I know German and because the poem exists as a German poem, I feel like I have to honor the poem by reading it. If this were a French poem, I wouldn't do this because I don't know French. But because I can speak German, I thought I would do this. So if you're leaving now because it makes no sense for you to listen, I'll say bye for now. Otherwise, if you're sticking around, here is the division of the earth in German. And in German, the title is Die Teilung der Erde. Nehmt hin die Welt, rief Zeus von seinen Höhen den Menschen zu. Nehmt, sie soll euer sein. Euch schenk ich sie zum Erb und ew'gen Lehen, doch teilt euch brüderlich darein. Da eilt, was Hände hat, sich einzurichten. Es regte sich geschäftigt, jung und alt. Der Ackermann griff nach des Feldes Früchten, der Junker birschte durch den Wald. Der Kaufmann nimmt, was seiner Speicher fassen, der Abt wählt sich den edlen Firnewein. Der König sperrt die Brücken und die Straßen und sprach, der Zehnte ist mein. Ganz spät, nachdem die Teilung längst geschehen, naht der Poet. Er kam aus weiter Fern. Ach, da war überall nichts mehr zu sehen und alles hatte seinen Herrn. Weh mir, So soll denn ich allein von allen vergessen sein? Ich, dein getreuster Sohn? So ließ er laut der Klageruf erschallen und warf sich hin vor Jovis Thron. Wenn du im Land der Träume dich verweilet, versetzt der Gott, so hadre nicht mit mir. Wo warst du denn, als man die Welt geteilet? Ich war, sprach der Poet, bei dir. Mein Auge hing an deinem Angesichte, an deines Himmels Harmonie mein Ohr. Verzeih dem Geiste, der von deinem Lichte berauscht das Irdische verlor. Was tun, spricht Zeus, die Welt ist weggegeben. Der Herbst, die Jagd, der Markt ist nicht mehr mein. Willst du in meinem Himmel mit mir leben? So oft du kommst, er soll dir offen sein. So that was it. That was the division of the earth in German. That's it for now. Till the next video.